When I met my wife a couple years ago, I was nervous to meet the in-laws, but just as everything used to go for me back in those days, it went pretty well. But really it was my now brother-in-law, her brother, who I really hit it off with. He and I had a lot of common interests such as GTA 5, playing piano, etc. It really helped me get broken into the new family by hanging out with him regularly, since that gave them the impression that I wasn't there for the sole purpose of having intercourse with their daughter. Eventually, we began to get really close, less like girlfriend's brother and more like my own brother. I found out that he was a smart feller, to say the least. He was pursuing a career in aeronautical engineering, but he started to talk about how his job didn't give him enough income security and how the smallest accident could get him into huge financial trouble. Eventually, around the time of my marriage, I came to know that he said all of these things because he was being screened for potential cancers, which unfortunately came true. He refused any form of financial aid because he hated the feeling that he was a charity case or whatever. He didn't even accept when my uncle offered him a job. Quite our luck, he came to be declared cancer-free. Still, the 5 to 10 year period is not over to determine if that is completely true yet, but we noticed that he was still very tired and exhausted every day. He would be missing at nights, etc. Whenever we gamed together, he would act a bit frustrated. In many ways, he begged me to help him with pain throughout his body that he made me keep hush. I was moved by his resilience, and in a moment of weakness, we did the deed multiple times over the course of a couple months. He seemed to be better, but even before I stopped doing these things, as I realized it could be interpreted as dishonest to my wife, though I believe that when you marry someone, you must consider it as if you are marrying their entire family. He continued to be pretty sick, tired and downright nasty at times because of his grim life. We feared that his cancer was reoccurring or it was affecting his brain or something. But nothing ever came of it. If you see my posting history, you will know that for over a week, my wife has been acting strange, erratic to the point that I had to consider having her admitted to an institution. I genuinely believed that she posed a threat to me or even herself. But she broke down and told me what happened. During the night that she ran out of the room suddenly, before she disappeared for an entire morning, she had received a long text from her brother. He had gotten extremely drunk, and was bleeding out of many orifices of his body, some which did not exist before. He told her that to deal with the financial burden of his cancer treatment, he had become a cobbler, of the nighttime variety. If you are not familiar with the rural Nevada slang, it refers to a male that performs certain services for rich clients late into the night, working out of the dark corners of the cobbler's workshop. This work had him doing grueling, disgusting things late into the night, which had caused him to grow sick, tired and irritable. It also caused the aforementioned bleeding. Now the part that pisses me off the most is that he told my wife everything that I did with him. She sometimes put it aside to pretend to be normal since I was not originally meant to know about this. She was texting my father-in-law because he had kicked brother-in-law out of the house because of the stuff that he was getting up to. He shouted at him for ruining his own health like this during a vulnerable time, and also for the shame of his son taking up such work. But this is the part where I feel left out. In this entire situation, I am the one that suffers the most. I got my shoes fixed with this guy. Who knows what disease he might have? And he had the dishonesty to go behind my back and tell it to my wife? Disgusting. I despise dishonesty of this kind. But my wife is the most dishonest in this situation. She never warned me to stay away from him, and this is my despair now. I can't be associated with this kind of family, and I don't want this type of dishonest wife and dishonest affair partner that goes behind my back. My daughter tore apart my fiancé's wedding dress, and it ended our engagement. I grounded her until she's 18, and limited her on everything. This is more of an off-my-chest post. I am not looking for advice but welcome some given with empathy and understanding in mind. I, 42M, have a 16-year-old daughter Ella. 6 months ago, because of her, my partner Chloe, 36F, ended our engagement. To give some context, before my partner, now ex, was in my life, I was married to my late wife. For around 1.5 years, she was in a vegetative state and I had already grieved her death before she even passed on. Accepting her death was something I had already prepared ahead of time, and I dipped my feet in the dating market 6 months after. I met my lovely partner, Chloe, who also had a daughter from her first marriage, and after dating for a year, I proposed to her. I was ecstatic to be with the love of my new life. Ella, not so much. Chloe tried to bond with Ella and did everything possible to make her feel like a welcome presence in her life. Ella wasn't thrilled and had routinely messed with Chloe, such as guarding her mother's territory, having an attitude when I got Chloe gifts, hid her stuff, and generally becoming over-rebellious. It used to cause fights between Chloe and I, who felt that I should be able to discipline her appropriately so that it doesn't impact our relationship. Ella completely lost her mind when she heard I was marrying Chloe. Eventually, a few weeks after that, she accepted it and Chloe even made her a bridesmaid. Because of this, she had access to Chloe's wedding prep stuff, and 3 days before the wedding, Chloe had assigned Ella the duty to get her adjusted dress picked up from the tailors as she had lost some weight from the time initial measurements were taken. To Chloe's horror, Ella had completely ruined the dress on purpose and admitted as such. There were fabric patches missing, stains from coffee, and almost looked like a dog chewed on the damn thing. Chloe broke down and called off the wedding. She didn't speak to me for a whole week and went out of town, and I frantically tried contacting her wishing we would work things out. When Chloe met me for the final time, she told me that she wants to end our relationship because she has unknowingly ignored a lot of red flags from the kind of behavior I let go. From my daughter. Chloe said she cannot put up with this level of disrespect her entire life. I begged and pleaded and even promised I will send her to boarding school, but she did not listen to me. I was furious at my daughter for meddling in my relationship and completely tearing it apart like she did with my lovely fiancé's dress. I grounded her until she turns 18 years old. At the time she was turning 16. She is now to come home straight from school, not allowed to have any relationships. She had no problem ruining my relationship and she doesn't deserve one until she is old enough to consent. No trips, no social media, nothing. Ella's then boyfriend also dumped her once he learned what she did. He was also a part of the wedding guest list. I even put restrictions on internet usage and she only is allowed one electronic, that is her desktop computer for school. I took her smartphone away and gave her a basic SIM phone instead. She is also to work at a diner right across from the street and pitch into household bills and groceries as a part of her sentence. If she proves herself worthy, I promise to cover a part of her college tuition. To address one more thing about grief counseling, yes, my daughter was completing a program through her school's health and counseling services, however she left that midway, and when I tried to convince her to go through it again, she rebelled, saying that they are simply getting her to accept the unacceptable in her life, which referred to Chloe. I even managed to convince her to try 3 more psychiatrists, but she did not want to engage with any after that. I couldn't force her to do therapy if it made her uncomfortable, so I didn't enforce it. I regret doing that really. Had I been stern enough, I would have introduced consequences if she did not put effort into working on herself in therapy. My daughter cries to me every day to reduce her sentence and let her live and lead a normal life, but I refuse. She took the one good thing in my life away from me. And I feel horrible still and cannot stop missing Chloe. I wish she'd just come back. I feel so angry at my daughter still and can't stop resenting her. I cannot find it in me to forgive her. Edit, I didn't seem to imply that my daughter isn't a part of the good things in my life. Clearly I misconveyed in my post. Here is what I said to her. Ella, I was in a very dark place from witnessing your mother's death. It was extremely tough for me to lose my partner. And then, I had a good thing going on in my life. It felt wonderful, I had hope. And in your selfishness, pettiness and stubbornness, you took that one good thing away from me and I cannot forgive you for that.
I pepper sprayed my mom's boyfriend because he came into my room while I was changing. Ida? My mom 47F, has recently allowed her boyfriend, Dale, 45M to move in with us. The guy is creepy. He is constantly trying to parent me 18F, and my little sister 14F. He is unemployed, so he has been helping around the house. Including doing my laundry. Which I have told him repeatedly not to touch. I keep my dirty clothes in my hamper in my room. I normally do whatever other laundry is left out when I do mine. Then I take my dry laundry to my room and fold it or hang it up. I leave the other dry laundry in the laundry room. I was changing to go see my friends last Friday, and Dale came into my room without knocking or asking permission. I pepper sprayed him right in the face like I have been instructed. Then I dragged him out of my room and screamed at him to never come into my room or my sister's room ever again, or I would call my father to deal with him. My mom is irritated with me, and she says I overreacted. She wants me to apologize. I told her that I would if I was allowed to put a lock on my door and my sister's door. I told her the same thing I told him. That if he ever thought about coming into my room I would tell my dad. My dad has often joked with me that he wouldn't kill someone who hurt me. That he would use everything he learned in the military to keep them alive as long as possible. He was never abusive towards my mom or my sister, but he did do time for violent felonies.